It's the Rob Carson Show. Are you ready to be podsmacked? Now, here's Rob Carson.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 220 of the Rob Carson Show podcast. Also, for those watching on Liberty One TV, the 11th of December video podcast. Welcome to the show. If you are listening on iTunes, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Google Plus, Google Play, YouTube and whatnot, episode number 220, and we're glad to have you as a part of it. And again, Liberty One TV, thank you for joining me tonight. I just got some statistics about 400,000 views a month on Liberty One TV, which I think is a nice start. I really want to thank you guys for supporting us, for watching my show, for watching some of the other guys on the show, and girls as well, by the way. And if you haven't joined, I really wish you would. It's just 33 cents a day, $10 a month, and $99 a year, okay? I'd really appreciate it if you'd do that. I also want to thank my sponsor here, Dot's Homestyle Pretzels. Just go to dotspretzels.com if you want to order them. They're available right now in North Dakota, the Kansas City area, a few other places. But they are available online, and I'm going to tell you they're the best pretzels you've ever had. They are the best pretzels you've ever had. I'm not kidding. They have got a salty, spicy, buttery flavor that is just fantastic. It is a family recipe, and you won't be able to stop when you start eating them. These aren't just your basic pretzels. You get basic pretzels are salty and, they're whatever, and they're kind of one-dimensional, and you put mustard on them. That's pretzels. You don't want nothing on them. They're fantastic. .pretzels.com. And if you write them and you want to put a note in there, say, hey, well, I saw you on Liberty One TV, or I heard you on the Rob Carson Show podcast, dotspretzels.com. So I want to open the show with a couple of comments about race in this country. And I'm tired of being called a racist, and I'm tired of being called a number of things that I'm not because of who I voted for. I'm tired of being told that if I don't support an onerous EPA, that I want dirty water and I want children to die. I'm tired of being told that if I don't support government health care, that I want people to die and I want old people to die. I'm tired of being told that because I don't support 3 meals a day at school, that I want children to starve. I think there should be some parental responsibility in feeding your kids. And I'm tired of being told that because I voted for Donald Trump that I'm a racist or a white supremacist or any one of a number of charges. Over the weekend, Donald Trump went to a civil rights museum dedication in the state of Mississippi. U.S. Representatives John Lewis and Bernie Thompson stayed away, citing the attendance of Donald Trump. They said Trump's attendance at this and his hurtful policies are an insult to the people portrayed in the Civil Rights Museum. Show me how his policies have hurt African Americans. Please show me. The struggles represented at this museum exemplify the truth of what really happened in Mississippi. President Trump's disparaging comments about women, the disabled, immigrants, and the National Football League players disrespect the efforts of Fannie Lou Hamer, Aaron Henry, Medgar Evers, blah, 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 and countless others who had given their all for Mississippi to be a better place. We encourage all Mississippians and Americans to visit the historical Civil Rights Museum, just not this weekend. Lewis, of course, questioned whether Trump was a legitimate president after he boycotted Trump's administration or his inauguration. This is purely political. This is purely political. And to not only label the president of the United States as some sort of a racist, he's also inferring that you voted for Donald Trump because of all of those things. And none of those things are true. I want you to think about, some of the great civil rights leaders of the 60s that did some amazing things. Of course, Martin Luther King Jr., number one up there. Representative John Lewis was one of the people who was injured on the Selma march over the bridge. And, thank you for doing that. But I want you to look at the last 40 years, 50 years, actually, of Democrat policies and where the African-American family is now. Nothing against the civil rights movement in the South, certainly. It was something that needed to happen, and we all know we're glad that it happened. But if you look at the decay of the African-American family, you look at the number of abortions, the number of babies aborted in the African American community, over 6 million babies. When you talk about African Americans are a minority, I mean, imagine if all these Planned Parenthood clinics that are usually in bad neighborhoods, in fact, almost exclusively in neighborhoods that are largely African American, and generally they are poverty-stricken. That's why I say bad neighborhoods. But Planned Parenthoods are located in those areas, and Margaret Sanger was a racist, and she wanted to exterminate black people, and she wanted to exterminate minorities, and she's smiling up from hell right now. But imagine if all those babies would have been born, and all of those families would have stayed together, and all of those babies had babies and grandchildren. When you look at the poverty in this country, you look at 70% of African-American kids are being raised in single-family homes in the inner cities. You look at the abortion rate, above 50% in cities around the country with regard to having babies. You look at the number of people who are having children, multiple children with multiple mothers and multiple fathers out of wedlock. You look at the fact that a lot of kids, inner-city kids, are shredded by their classmates for succeeding when they are successful. You look at the decay of the African-American culture in inner cities with regard to gang violence, with regard to music and media. And then when kids actually try to fight and do well, they're made fun of. They're called names. When people try to leave the Democrat Party and they're African-American, they're called names. They're called Uncle Toms. So they effectively have to continue to support the failed policies of the Democrat Party. What has the Democrat Party done for African Americans in this country, other than giving them the least? The least. It's kind of a shame. But it doesn't stop Democrats and liberals from calling conservatives racist, KKK members. Don Jellis was on MSNBC. I guess he's some sort of a pundit, and he was talking about Donald Trump. And again, when you hear things like this by pundits about Donald Trump, realize that he's also talking about those who voted for the president. Here's what he had to say about Donald Trump with regard to the Civil Rights Museum and what he's done to boost the KKK in this country.
You cannot say that you want a more just and more free future when you have your own DOJ attacking voting rights in this country.
No, you're not. All they want to do is make sure that the vote is fair, that every vote is counted, and people don't cheat. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about, you fricking fool. And you know what? Calling for an ID when you vote is not a big deal. You need a friggin' ID to turn the electricity on in your house. You need a friggin' ID if you want to cash a check or you want to go even deposit a check at a bank. You need a freaking ID. So when you say that African Americans are somehow disadvantaged when they're asked to present an ID when they vote, what you're doing is you are expecting the least from people, and that's much more racist than asking for one.
And quite frankly, this president has done more to stoke the flames of hate in this country.
Like what? Like how? Like how? What are you talking about? Have you seen the unemployment numbers for African Americans in this country? They're going through the ceiling. They're going through the ceiling. The president asked NFL players, not because of their color, to stand during the national anthem. And he said, if you don't stand up, fire the son of a bitch. That's not racist. That's respect for the country. There's never been anything wrong with standing for the national anthem. Millions of African Americans and Asians and every nationality. This country is a melting pot. Millions have stood for that anthem and wept with joy. There was nothing wrong with it. It's not racist to say, get off your ass and stand for the anthem.
And give aid and comfort to the KKK than any one person I could name.
Really? Okay, right, okay. KKK, by the way, thought you should know. The KKK was created by a Democrat. The KKK was a Democrat organization. That's what it was. It was created by Democrats. Jim Crow, created by Democrats. Always has been a Democrat proposition. And the Democrat Party is as racist as anyone right now, with its policies keeping people down, giving them the minimum that they can expect, the minimum in life, so they'll get their votes. It is absurd. It is ridiculous to say these things about Donald Trump and the KKK, and it's an insult to you and me. And, if that doesn't work, you just call Republicans Nazis. You just say that the America that we know is heading towards Nazi Germany. Because after all, right, we've got Nazis in the White House. If you listen to several Democrat politicians, we've got white supremacists in the White House. If you listen to Democrat politicians. So why shouldn't Barack Obama at a meeting of mayors talk about how we're headed in that direction?
20s or 30s. Now, presumably there was a ballroom here in Vienna in the late 1920s or 30s that looked pretty sophisticated with the music and the art and the literature and the science that was emerging. It would continue into perpetuity. And then 60 million people died, and an entire world was plunged into chaos. So you got to pay attention and vote.
You got to pay attention. You got to vote. Now, I don't remember if you remember his acceptance of the nomination in 2007. You remember that? You remember that he one venue wasn't big enough, so he had to rent out an entire stadium, outdoor stadium in Denver. And they put up these big marble-looking columns. They had banners. They had music. Had a leader who was whipping the crowd into a frenzy, and people holding their hands above their heads. You remember that? At Barack Obama's acceptance of the nomination? You don't remember that. People weren't doing this. No. They were doing this. They were doing this. They were showing their devotion with an O in the air. Now I ask you, who more resembles Nazi Germany? It's absurd to make the comparison. Absurd to make these comparisons. I want to move on to something else today because this bothered me. Sarah Silverman is just a pretty awful person. Some people find her funny. That's cool. If you find her funny, that's cool. I think she probably does have a sense of humor, but she has a show called, apparently there's a show called I Love You, America with Sarah Silverman. And this is, I guess there's one more episode in the show, and I haven't seen the show, but when you hear what she has to say about, or her opening monologue in the latest episode talks about her ex-boyfriend putting up a flag in the front yard. She was at his house, and he went out one morning and put up the American flag. And this is where she exposes not only her own hatred of America, and it is hatred of America. It legitimately is. It's not hatred of nationalism. It is hatred for the country. It runs rampant in this country. On the left, they hate what America is. They hate what it's always stood for. I don't know why there is this self-loathing left in this country. I don't know why there are Jewish people who hate Israel. I don't know why there are people who live in this country who hate everything it's based on, even though they've reaped the rewards of living here, including that of the First Amendment, which Sarah Silverman was able to use when she said this monologue. And I'm going to interrupt it periodically, but here she is talking about how she was frightened by the American flag going up in her boyfriend's front yard.
I had a boyfriend many years ago. He was my first boyfriend who had his own house. And one day I went outside to see what he was doing, and he was hoisting an American flag up the flagpole in his front yard. And I instantly felt very weird. It didn't make sense, but I felt this feeling of I felt scared. Yeah,
Why would you feel scared at the American flag going up? Every people in every country in the world, they have flags of their nations. They hoist them proudly. They bring them out at celebrations. And it's not because they think that it's just a sign of where you're from. They think that their nation, at least some of them, think that their nation is the best. They really think it's the best. A little bit more from Sarah Silverman. I've got a lot of thoughts on this.
Scared. And so I was like, what are you doing? And he said, raising the flag.
And this is where you should have just broken up with her. You should have just said, what the hell's wrong with you?
And I was like, why? And he's like, because I love America. And I was like, right, of course.
She says like a lot.
But inside, I was shaken. And then I calmly walked to my car and I got inside and I called my sister Susie to tell her what happened. Now, maybe you're thinking, what do you mean what happened? Nothing happened. Your boyfriend put an American flag up at his own house.
Yeah.
No, you're totally right. I had no idea why I was freaking out. I had this very visceral reaction. And my sister, who knows because she's a rabbi in Israel, explained to me, she was like, dude, nationalism is innately terrifying for Jews. Think about it.
Okay. In Israel, they require compulsory military service. Nationalism is alive and well in Israel. It has to be. Because if it isn't, they don't survive. They're surrounded by their enemies.
Flags, marching, blind allegiance.
Okay, again, compulsory military service. Compulsory military service in Israel.
These things tend to ring a bell for us. Right. Of course. Duh. It made sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense. You know why? You dumb. I'll reserve the word. I have several of them. Several of them. Sarah Silverman would not be alive today. And who knows how many of the Jewish faith would be alive today had proud Americans who salute the flag went overseas to take out Adolf Hitler and end his takeover of a large part of the earth. A lot of American soldiers went over there and saved a lot of lives and liberated a lot of death camps. And then when they left, they paid to rebuild the country. There are a lot of bodies on foreign shores. There are a lot of bodies buried in Germany and France and other places because we were instrumental in saving the world and saving the Jewish people. So why this stupid cow of Satan would be threatened by the United States flag is beyond me. But she clearly is not a student of history, if she ever was a student of anything, because she's stupid. She's stupid. A lot of young men died at 18, 19 years old, defeating Adolf Hitler, ending the Holocaust. The Holocaust would have grown. I doubt very few of Sarah Silverman's relatives would be around. And I also doubt she would be around. And I certainly doubt there would be a Jewish state. There you go. For what it's worth. Speaking of which, I had a conversation about Donald Trump acknowledging Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. And I was with a bunch of very left of center people, including one Jewish woman, who was against it. And I was like, okay, why? And she said they should divide the capital, Palestine, blah, blah, blah. Israel has always claimed that Jerusalem is its capital. The Palestinian people for the last 70 years have not been oppressed by the Jewish people. The Palestinian people have sat fomenting hate and rage, a lot of them against the state of Israel for being, and they are supported by many other Arabic states that support them and support the end of Israel and the death of Jewish people. I said the reason why, well, first of all, they didn't realize that their heroes, Barack Obama, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, had all called for Jerusalem to be the capital of Israel. They didn't realize that. Now, Donald Trump put together a video. Here it is. Here's Donald Trump. They put together a video. I guess it's kind of paid for a pro-Trump pack with regard to previous presidents. Donald Trump was the first person who actually made good on the promise. Here's the ad.
Jerusalem is still the capital of Israel and must remain an undivided city accessible to all.
As soon as I take office, I will begin the process of moving the United States ambassador to the city of Israel as chosen as its capital.
Never done.
I continue to say that Jerusalem will be the capital of Israel.
Didn't do anything.
I've said that before, and I will say it again.
And Jerusalem will remain the capital of Israel, and it must remain undivided.
There you go.
We will move the American embassy to the eternal capital of the Jewish people, Jerusalem. Therefore, I have determined that it is time to officially recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. While previous presidents have made this a major campaign promise, they failed to deliver.
Yep.
Today, I am delivering.
And he did. And any excuse to set the world on fire, the Palestinians and many of the radical Arab states are protesting. They never did stop. They never did stop killing Jews. They never did stop taking money that we send the people of Palestine to martyr their children. Because the PLO offers a reward when you blow yourself up and you kill some Jews. They do. If that's not a reason to make Jerusalem the capital of Israel, then I don't know what is. This is the first time an American president followed through with a promise. 20 years is too long to say it's going to happen. Donald Trump said, "It's happening, baby." And things just suddenly got real for the people of Israel and for the people who hate Israel. I think it's pretty cool. So let me ask you this. You've got a bakery, and you are a Christian, and you decide that you don't feel comfortable serving or creating a wedding cake for a gay couple because it goes against your Christian beliefs. Right now we have a case in front of the Supreme Court about this. It's discrimination. Montel Williams calls it the new Jim Crow. The new Jim Crow is what's going on at this bakery. And you'll notice that no Muslim bakeries have been picked on. Did you notice that? I mean, honestly, think about it. I'm sure there are plenty of halal bakeries or butchers or whatever, but they're owned by Muslims. Do you suppose they would bake a cake for a gay wedding? I think not. But people like to pick on Christians in this country. They like to pick on Christianity. They like to pick on Christmas. Plenty of that going around. Oh, by the way, before the end of the broadcast, I have a special gift for you today, a piece of satire I wrote a little while back about Washington, D.C. and Christmas. I'm going to put a different piece of Christmas comedy that I've written over the years for Rush Limbaugh and others. I'm going to sprinkle them throughout the next few weeks before we go into Christmas. I've got a bunch of stuff. Trust me, I've written a lot of stuff about Christmas. Some political, some not political. Just good Christmas stuff. So what happens, though, if you make known that you're a Republican? What happens if you make known that you are a Donald Trump supporter and you go into a coffee shop and they say, "We don't serve your kind here"? Well, apparently that's what happened. Fordham University, college Republicans decided to go into a student-run coffee shop, Rodriguez Coffee House. Student-run organization on campus. The club has adopted a safe space policy and is intent on enforcing it. Now, it's a safe space, right? I'm sure they would have no problem having members of the Antifa come in, right? Because they're leftists. They're a violent mob of leftists who've been known to hurl bottles of concrete or cans of concrete at police, urine bombs, fecal bombs, bring pepper spray. In Charlottesville, they were rumored to have had fentanyl, and they were going to rub it on the cop's skin, should cause them to become violently ill or even die. That's why the police stayed out of it, because they expected violence from the left. But apparently they have a problem with Republicans going in, because that violates their safe space. Well, it's not really a safe space. It's a safe space for opposing ideas. It's not a safe space because you feel physically threatened. It's not a safe space because somebody's going to attack you. These safe spaces are being used to keep opposing ideas away. It's really pretty sick when you think about it. Here's a little bit of the video. These guys shot as the manager of the coffee shop basically attacked them, told them they had 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes to leave. And then, of course, she brands them Nazis because they're Trump supporters. Here it is.
We bought something. Yeah.
I don't want people like you supporting this club.
Well, then you should include that I want a refund of my coffee. Yeah, then I'll give everyone a refund. Then I want a refund. Yeah. Then give us all refunds and we'll leave.
Well, you drank it.
Well,
you have your coffee. Do not try to outsmart me. I'm giving you 4 minutes now.
Don't try to outsmart me. Don't you have to be smart?
Please leave. 4 minutes.
I have time to have my coffee and I'll take a refund.
4 minutes.
I have the right to take a picture of this document.
Okay, 4 minutes. Please
4
pack
minutes.
yourself up and go. Thank you very much. Very soon it will be 3 minutes. Wow.
You're trying to be threatening. Why are you being threatening?
Because you are threatening the integrity of our club.
You are threatening the integrity of our club.
This is a community standard.
This is a community standard.
You are wearing hats that completely violate safe space policy.
You are wearing hats that completely violate safe space policy. The hats say, "Make America Great Again." They don't say, "Beat up leftists." They don't say, "White supremacist." They say, "Make America Great Again," which is and by the way, they were testing this club, and then they were proven right. This club is a bigoted, closed-minded, leftist establishment.
Does this hat have a racist
Off or
slur
you
on it?
have to go. Yes, it does.
What is that?
3 minutes. 3
What is the hat?
Here you go.
Fascism, Nazis. Okay, what do you want?
Okay, so why are you kicking us out? Fascism and Nazism. And this goes unchallenged around the country. I mean, we just heard from Barack Obama saying that the country was headed the way of Vienna before World War II, before the Nazis came in. And people are allowed to get away with this. And don't forget, this is talking about you and me. If you voted for Donald Trump, if you have a conservative idea, that's what they're calling you, and nobody's calling them out. They can just get away with it. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I wish they'd sue their asses off. I really do. By the way, here are some of the rules in this coffee shop, and I don't know why the hell you'd go to this coffee shop, but what? Unless you're a rabid leftist and you don't want to hear anybody else's ideas, which I ran into Saturday night at a Christmas party. Do not make assumptions about someone's gender, sexuality, race, class, or experiences. Be aware of your own identity. I am. While being considerate of the personhood of your peers. Okay, whatever. I'm just here to get a freaking cup of coffee. Be mindful of the ways in which your words and actions impact others. Be aware of the boundaries of other space, physical or otherwise. Okay, great. Go sit down in your other place there and drink your cup of coffee. I'm going to sit over here. I'm not even going to talk to you. I won't even make eye contact. No. And respect their consent. Consent for what? No racism, no sexism, no homophobia. Oh, man. It says if you feel that someone has transgressed this policy, we want you to feel comfortable confronting them or approaching a member behind the counter who is available as a resource to assist you. What a bunch of assholes. I mean, honestly, what just a bunch of complete a-holes. Absolutely ridiculous. So tomorrow is the race in Alabama. Roy Moore is, of course, running for a Senate seat against a very left-of-center Democrat. Apparently, Roy Moore is now behind in one poll by about 10 points. I don't even know what to believe at this point. Roy Moore was up by 7 last week, and I'm going to tell you right now. He said over the weekend, he says that the allegations about me are completely false. I did not date underage women. I did not molest anyone, and so these allegations are false. He spoke to the Voice of Alabama Politics on Sunday. He said, I said I did not know of any of the women who have charged me with the sexual allegation of molestation, and I did not know any of the women. When I saw these pictures on advertisements of my opponent, I did not recognize any of these people. I do not know them. I don't know what to believe. I know that when in the primary, last name strange, I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name, but was running against Roy Moore. Roy Moore ended up winning, Luther Strange. He spent millions of dollars on opposition research on Roy Moore, and none of this came up. Why? Why is that? I just want to know, why is that? Why would none of that come up? If you are going balls out against your opponent, why would none of these women be found? Why weren't there? If this is so flagrant that he dated so many underage women that they supposedly kept him from going into a mall because of which, by the way, the mall manager says, no, that wasn't the case. We know that there was a yearbook that he supposedly signed, and the person, Beverly Nelson, admitted that she changed and added some things to the yearbook signature with regard to Roy Moore. So I don't know. I don't know what to believe. I would probably tend to believe that he liked teenage girls in the 1970s and the early 80s. I think he liked teenage girls. He said he never dated anyone he'd not gotten her mother's approval from, which I thought was kind of creepy. That was an interview with Sean Hannity. So do I give a full-throated endorsement of Roy Moore? Nah, no. And I hope there is an investigation when it gets in the Congress. And then if we find out something, if we find out this is true, then he needs to be replaced. But the seat is important right now. The seat is important right now. Terry Soule, representative of Alabama, said that not only is voting for Roy Moore, voting for child molester, and now of course the Republican Party they're the party of child molesters. Bill Clinton was the president, and Democrats, the Democrat Party didn't become the party of screwing and getting BJs from interns in the White House, or sexually assaulting women in hotel rooms while the state troopers stood outside the door. Didn't ever happen. Only happens when it's a Republican Party, and the whole Republican Party is not voting for Roy Moore. The people of Alabama who are Republican and who believe in him, they're voting for him. Here she is talking not only about that, but also voting for him will take the state back to the days of segregation, apparently. I didn't know about that.
Listen, the state of Alabama voted for this president by 28 points. The fact that we are closed and narrowed in to a statistical dead heat is really important. I believe that the people of Alabama
must have been a different poll.
Realize that this election is really about the soul of this nation and the soul of Alabama. And we who have been proud Alabamians know that we have been trying to overcome our painful past, and this candidate, Roy Moore, will only take us backwards and harken us back to the days of segregation, and Doug Jones will take us forward.
Okay, so she's saying Doug Jones will take them back, but this guy's going to take them back to the days of segregation. Tell me how exactly. Tell me how exactly. I know that when African Americans attempt to leave the Democrat Party, they are segregated from other black people, by Democrats. That's what I know. That's segregation. It's political segregation. It is. Nothing about Roy Moore says that his policies will harken back to the days of segregation. It's idiotic on the face of it. All right, I'm going to wrap things up with on a positive note. I want to play a piece of satire that I wrote a few years ago that is amazingly still very true. It is a Christmas song. It is a parody of Little Town of Bethlehem, and it's about Washington, D.C. So I'm going to play it for you, and then we'll wrap things up in just a second. In the meantime, enjoy this. It is, Oh, Little Town of Washington. All right, here you go.
Oh, little town of Washington, you give the people hope. You're filled with crooks and lobbyists, all vying for the vote.
Some things never change.
Your rhetoric never changes, the everlasting lies. You promise change and real reform, then tax us till we die. We'd like to send this message out
Makes you feel warm and fuzzy, doesn't it? All right. Now, as the shows progress toward Christmas, I will include at least one piece of Christmas satire that I've written over the years. Like I said, some of it will be political, some of them not so much, because I've done a lot of it. And I hope you enjoy it. And by the way, if you go to my SoundCloud page, soundcloud.com/Rob Carson Show, you can hear dozens of pieces of my comedy from over the years for Rush Limbaugh and others. I write for non-political comedy networks as well. Anyway, thanks for joining me, guys. I really do appreciate you joining me for episode number 220 of the Rob Carson Show podcast on iTunes, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Google Plus, Google Play, Audio Boom, SoundCloud, Patreon, and YouTube. And then also, of course, let's not forget Liberty One TV. Liberty One TV is awesome. You guys are making the show more and more popular every single night, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central. Make sure to become a member, will ya? All right? Just go to libertyonetv.com. It's only 33 cents a day, $10 a month, $99 a year. And okay, don't also forget about Dots Pretzels. Dots Pretzels, I swear, you get a bag of Dots Pretzels, get the big one. Get the big one. Because you're going to want to have them around the house if you got people coming over, whether it be for your Christmas holiday, your Hanukkah celebration, your Kwanzaa celebration, or New Year's, all right? I'll say God bless, have a glorious day, and Merry Christmas. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks for listening to The Rob Carson Show. Friend him on Facebook at Carson Show, on Twitter at Rob Carson, and on Instagram, I think Facebook and Twitter are enough for now. We'll see you soon.